Elizabeth storms into the room, eyes blazing, and just like that, the tension hits you in the chest. She's confronting Lauren about Alex, and what she says next makes everyone freeze. She claims something shocking about him, and Lauren's jaw drops. You can feel the air crackling with every word. Is this jealousy or something deeper? For years, Elizabeth and Lauren seemed untouchable as friends, sharing secrets, venting about their marriages, and bonding over the chaos of 90-Day Fiancé. But tonight, it all feels like it could shatter in seconds. Every look, every pause, every word carries weight, because one misstep could turn this friendship into a public battlefield. And just when you think it might be a minor disagreement, Elizabeth's accusation hits like a punch, leaving Lauren speechless and everyone watching wondering how it could even escalate. The room fills with shock, questions, and unspoken tension. But what happens next changes everything between them, and it's not something anyone saw coming. Retention booster. Hold on, because the fallout from this confrontation is going to shake everything you thought you knew about their friendship. Before we jump into tonight's chaos, let's rewind a bit. Last episode was a whirlwind of secrets, tension, and a few eyebrow-raising moments that set the stage for what's about to explode. Elizabeth and Lauren's friendship, which we all thought was rock solid, was already teetering on the edge. Small misunderstandings built up, casual comments got twisted, and Andre, well, he did his usual thing, stirring trouble without even trying. You know the type, he says one careless word, walks away, and suddenly everyone is questioning everything about their marriage. Meanwhile, Lauren has been caught in the middle of it all, trying to navigate not just her relationship with Alex but also keeping peace with Elizabeth. But let's be real, peace doesn't last long when emotions are high and friendships are complicated. You could practically see the gears turning in her head every time Elizabeth said something loaded or asked a pointed question. And when Andre doubled down on his behavior, ignoring boundaries, dismissing concerns, it wasn't just awkward. It was explosive waiting to happen. Fans already know that Elizabeth tends to compare her marriage to others. She measures happiness, loyalty, and respect like a scoreboard. And last week, that habit collided head-on with Lauren's reality. Lauren shared something private with Elizabeth, hoping for understanding, only to have it referenced in public later, which sparked tension you could cut with a knife. You know, I bet you didn't see that coming. It's one of those moments where friendship and loyalty collide in real time, and everyone watching feels the anticipation like a drumbeat in their chest. On top of that, Andre's actions keep echoing in the background. Elizabeth is frustrated, but instead of directing her anger at the real source, it starts seeping into her interactions with Lauren. Miscommunication, projection, and subtle jealousy begin layering like storm clouds over a summer sky. And the build-up to the confrontation we saw tonight, it wasn't sudden, it was the result of days, maybe even weeks, of tension simmering under the surface. Every glance, every sideline comment, every unintended slip was a spark waiting for a match. By the time we reach Yara's event, all of this context explodes. Elizabeth's nerves, Lauren's caution, and Andre's unpredictability collide in a single room. Everyone is watching, everyone is listening, and the stakes are higher than ever. You can feel it in Lauren's hesitant words, in Elizabeth's sharp tone, and in the unspoken anticipation of what might come next. Retention booster. And wait till you see how Elizabeth's next move shocks everyone at Yara's event. By the time Elizabeth finally confronts Lauren, you can feel her frustration radiating from every word. It's not just about a comment or a misunderstanding, it's the culmination of months of tension, mostly fueled by Andre's actions. In many ways, Elizabeth is projecting her anger with him onto Lauren. You see it in the way she interprets everything Lauren says, as if her friend is suddenly a competitor instead of an ally. And just like that, the room feels heavier, charged with unspoken questions. Elizabeth's comparison mode kicks in fast. She's constantly measuring her marriage against Lauren's, weighing loyalty, respect, and even how their partners behave in public. When Andre makes a careless comment or disregards her input, it doesn't just hurt, it becomes evidence in Elizabeth's mind that she's falling behind in some invisible scoreboard. And here's the kicker. She takes that frustration and unknowingly places it on Lauren. Wait till you hear Lauren's reaction, it's priceless and tense at the same time. Lauren, on the other hand, is cautious but firm. She's been navigating this friendship carefully, trying not to inflame Elizabeth while also maintaining her own boundaries. But Elizabeth's accusations hit hard because they touch on something intimate. Her husband, her family, and the trust between friends. Suddenly, what should be a private conversation becomes a high-stakes negotiation of emotions, loyalty, and perception. The tension spikes when Elizabeth drops a line that leaves Lauren speechless. What could she say next? And this is where projection becomes painfully obvious. Elizabeth is upset about Andre's behavior at multiple points: the ultimatums, the lack of transparency, the dismissive attitude. But instead of confronting him directly, she channels her anger at Lauren. It's classic displacement. The safest target becomes her friend, someone she trusts, someone who isn't the actual source of the problem. Just when you think this might calm down, Elizabeth pivots and the accusation sharpens, leaving everyone in shock. Jealousy and competition creep in quietly, almost invisibly. Elizabeth measures Lauren's responses, her confidence, her ability to handle her own marriage, and suddenly, the conversation becomes a subtle power struggle. It's not about who's right or wrong, it's about who's winning in this invisible comparison game. Friends are supposed to support each other, but tonight, loyalty is on trial. And here's where it gets wild: Elizabeth isn't done yet. As the argument escalates, it's hard not to feel empathy for both sides. Elizabeth's frustration is real, Andre's behavior is complicated, and it's understandable that she's on edge. At the same time, Lauren's position is delicate. She's caught between defending herself and navigating her friend's volatile emotions. This is the perfect storm of jealousy, projection, and emotional overdrive, and it's fascinating to watch how quickly friendships can become tangled when external pressures mount. You won't believe what Elizabeth says next, it changes the dynamic entirely. By the end of their confrontation, the emotional stakes are clear. The friendship has been tested, boundaries have been pushed, and trust has been shaken. But despite the harsh words and the tension, there's an undercurrent of care. Both women want to be heard, both want validation, and both are grappling with the messy realities of marriage, loyalty, and friendship. The fallout isn't over, and watching it unfold promises more drama and more emotional insight than most of us expected. Retention booster: stick around, because the next moment might completely redefine Elizabeth and Lauren's friendship. Andre's presence looms large over this entire episode, even when he's not in the same room. You can see how his choices ripple outward, touching every interaction Elizabeth has with friends and family. His dismissive comments, unilateral decisions, and subtle digs aren't just small annoyances, they're sparks landing in a dry forest, ready to ignite conflict. From Lauren's perspective, it's like walking on eggshells. One misstep, one misinterpreted word, and suddenly she's caught in the crossfire of Elizabeth's frustrations. And the way Andre maneuvers, you almost wonder if he's doing it intentionally. Andre has a knack for deflection. When Elizabeth expresses her anger or disappointment, he often flips the narrative. Suddenly, the problem isn't his behavior, it's jealousy, miscommunication, or others being jealous of us. By shifting blame outward, he avoids accountability while keeping Elizabeth's attention focused elsewhere. This isn't just clever, it's corrosive. It forces Elizabeth to question her own judgment, which only fuels the projection and comparison we saw in Act 2. And just when you think he might let it rest, he drops a line that makes everyone blink. His ego plays a huge role too. Andre clearly values control over collaboration. Decisions about money, family moves, or even social interactions are filtered through his perspective alone. Elizabeth's opinions, secondary. Lauren's observations, disposable. This kind of unilateral control isn't just frustrating, it undermines trust, poisons friendships, and strains marriages. You see it in how Elizabeth hesitates to confront him directly. She knows it will only escalate into another episode of defensiveness, gaslighting, and deflection. And here comes the kicker: Andre's next move will push Elizabeth into uncharted territory. The consequences of his behavior are painfully visible. Friendships fray under the weight of tension. Lauren, caught in the middle, has to defend herself without being accused of betrayal. Family members and other cast members pick up on the energy, which magnifies every small misstep. It's like watching dominoes fall. Andre's ego-driven choices aren't isolated incidents. They're triggers that set off chains of conflict. Just when you think he's quiet, he drops another bomb. But there's more complexity here than just ego and deflection. In some ways, Andre seems unaware of the psychological impact of his behavior. He underestimates the emotional load Elizabeth carries, from managing her own insecurities to navigating their public life. And when he disregards her input, it validates her fears that her voice doesn't matter, that her boundaries can be ignored, and that the emotional labor she invests in relationships is invisible. This isn't just marital tension, It's a ripple effect that influences friendships, loyalties, and perceptions across the board. And the tension spikes when Elizabeth finally realizes the full impact of his choices. Andre also thrives on subtle manipulation. A casual comment here, a vague hint there, and suddenly Elizabeth feels defensive, reactive, and uncertain. It's clever, in a way, but it leaves everyone else around him second-guessing themselves too. Lauren's cautiousness, Elizabeth's projection, and even Joy or Alex's reactions are all influenced by his behavior. The environment he creates is emotionally charged, unpredictable, and high stakes. Watching him interact, you can't help but feel a mix of frustration and fascination. How does one person cause so many waves? And just when you think it can't get worse, Andre escalates yet again, shifting the entire dynamic. Despite all this, there's a pattern that emerges. Andre's actions often trigger reflection and confrontation. Elizabeth's emotional outbursts, her need for validation, and her projections are responses to behavior that's been simmering for months. His unilateral choices force her to confront boundaries, alliances, and self-respect in a way that might have been avoidable with more empathy or communication. And while his behavior fuels drama, it also inadvertently drives narrative tension, emotional exploration, and yes, audience engagement. And if you think you've seen the worst of his antics, the next reveal will make you question everything you thought about their relationship. By the end of the segment, it's clear that Andre isn't just a passive presence, he's an active catalyst. Every choice, comment, and reaction feeds into the cascading conflicts that define this episode. Friendships strain, trust erodes, and Elizabeth is left juggling loyalty, anger, and self-preservation. Andre's behavior is messy, ego-driven, and unpredictable, and it's the heartbeat of the tension that keeps the audience glued to the screen. Retention booster. Hold tight, because the fallout from Andre's latest move is about to explode in the next scene. Alex's comments about Lauren's appearance may have seemed small on the surface, but in this house, words carry weight. Postpartum struggles aren't just physical, they're emotional, psychological, and relentless. 3 kids in just over 2 years, sleepless nights, and constant pressure to balance personal needs with family expectations make every remark feel amplified. When Alex made those comments, even if his intention was to motivate or be honest, it hit Lauren where it hurt the most. And that's when the tension starts simmering, turning private feelings into public drama. Small miscommunications quickly snowball here. Lauren trusted Elizabeth with her perspective, hoping for understanding, not judgment. Yet Elizabeth, already carrying her frustrations from Andre, interprets Lauren's story through her own lens. And suddenly, what was a minor remark becomes a full-blown accusation. This is how gossip and assumptions creep into friendships, eroding trust in ways that feel sudden but actually build over time. And just when you think the misunderstanding can be smoothed over, another comment reignites the fire. Marital expectations play a huge role in this dynamic. Respect and attraction are deeply intertwined, especially after childbirth and during postpartum recovery. Lauren's need for affirmation is completely reasonable, but Alex's blunt approach clashes with it. It's a reminder that communication isn't just about words, it's about timing, tone, and context. Every conversation carries an emotional freight that, if misread, can escalate into resentment or insecurity. And here's where the plot thickens. Elizabeth jumps in, interpreting Alex's words as evidence of something darker. The audience sees how layered these conflicts are. Alex isn't intentionally cruel, Lauren isn't overreacting for drama, and Elizabeth isn't being malicious. Each person is operating from a place of emotion, experience, and perspective. Yet these perspectives collide like high-speed trains, creating emotional wreckage that's fascinating to watch. Miscommunication becomes a trigger not just for hurt feelings, but for questioning loyalty, marriage, and friendships. You won't believe how Lauren reacts to Elizabeth's allegations next. Lauren also faces the delicate balance of self-respect versus keeping peace. She's aware that Alex can be direct, sometimes brutally so, but she also knows the line between honesty and criticism. Her struggle isn't about being thin-skinned, it's about feeling seen and valued in a relationship that's already under enormous pressure. The conflict isn't isolated to the bedroom or the kitchen. It spills into social settings, friendships, and family gatherings, magnifying the stakes. And every time Elizabeth brings up Alex, it forces Lauren to weigh patience against protecting her own emotional boundaries. This segment highlights how trust can fray even in strong relationships. One comment, a single misunderstanding, or an unguarded conversation can ripple outward, creating drama that's amplified by friends, family, and social scrutiny. Respect, attraction, and marital expectations are constantly in flux, and Lauren's response isn't just about reacting to Alex, it's about managing a web of perceptions and relationships that feel impossible to navigate. And just when you think the storm is over, Elizabeth drops a line that makes Lauren question everything again. By the end of this act, viewers can see how deeply intertwined personal emotions, communication, and friendship dynamics are. Small words spark big reactions, misunderstandings escalate into conflict, and loyalty is tested at every turn. The tension between Alex, Lauren, and Elizabeth isn't about who's right or wrong, it's about how emotion, perception, and timing collide to create moments that feel explosive, unfair, and utterly human. Once Elizabeth's confrontation with Lauren aired, the internet didn't just notice, it erupted. Clips of the argument were shared, reshared, and dissected on every platform. Fans immediately jumped in, taking sides with a ferocity that could make your head spin. Some defended Elizabeth, saying loyalty to a friend's spouse is non-negotiable. Others sided with Lauren, arguing that sharing feelings about hurtful comments is human, natural, and doesn't make you a bad friend. And right there, you could see how polarized the audience became. Every viewer had an opinion, and nobody was holding back. The hashtags started trending, conversations spiraled into hours-long threads, and memes began appearing within minutes. People highlighted the micro-expressions, the body language, the pauses that screamed louder than words. One viral clip showed Elizabeth raising her voice while trying to maintain composure, and Lauren's stunned silence spoke volumes. Fans commented, "Would you forgive a friend for this? And could you trust your partner after this?" These questions weren't just rhetorical, they tapped into universal experiences of betrayal, miscommunication, and loyalty. And just when it seemed the internet had settled, a new clip dropped showing Alex reacting off camera, and suddenly everyone was back in debate mode. Social media became a pressure cooker for analysis. TikTokers recreated scenes, Instagram pages posted side-by-side comparisons of their statements, and Twitter threads debated every possible motive. Was Elizabeth jealous, protective, or projecting? Did Lauren overreact, or was she standing her ground? Every answer seemed to spawn two more questions, and viewers were hooked. And here's where the tension starts to feel real. Because now the drama isn't just on screen, it's affecting real opinions, real friendships, and fan communities. Memes and commentary weren't just entertainment, they highlighted the nuances that the cameras sometimes missed. One fan pointed out, "It's not about calling someone a dick, it's about the timing, the history, and the context." Another said, "Elizabeth's jealousy isn't wrong, it's human, but how she handles it is the problem." These insights started to shape the conversation around emotional intelligence, boundaries, and friendship dynamics. Fans weren't just gossiping, they were analyzing, reflecting, and even questioning their own relationships. And right in the middle of this storm, new information from social posts hinted that tensions between Elizabeth and Andre hadn't cooled either, keeping the speculation alive. As the drama unfolded online, a secondary wave of fan commentary focused on Lauren and Alex's relationship. Viewers debated whether small comments about appearance, especially during postpartum recovery, are acceptable or toxic. Was Alex being direct or insensitive? Was Lauren overreacting or asserting her boundaries? The answers were split almost evenly, with passionate arguments from both sides. Social media served as a magnifying glass, highlighting how even minor miscommunications can ignite massive emotional responses. And just when everyone thought they had a take, Lauren posted an Instagram story, hinting at unresolved feelings, sending the fan base into overdrive. The combined effect of on-screen drama and online frenzy created a perfect storm for engagement. Every fan reaction, every meme, every debate acted as a fuel line, feeding curiosity and suspense. People weren't just watching, they were emotionally invested, checking timelines, discussing motives, and waiting for the next bombshell. Discussions spanned hours, connecting viewers across continents, all trying to answer one question: how would you handle this kind of betrayal and miscommunication in your own life? And here's where the internet explodes, because nobody saw this coming. The social media storm also gave insight into emotional psychology at play. Fans analyzed projection, jealousy, and rivalry in real time. They debated whether Elizabeth's protective instincts were justified, whether Lauren's trust had been violated, and how Alex's behavior contributed to escalating tension. This collective analysis gave viewers a deeper connection to the story, as they recognized the messy, layered reality of human relationships. And just as discussion seemed to peak, subtle hints from the cast suggested that the fallout wasn't over, keeping everyone on edge for what happens next. By the end of this act, the public's reactions become part of the narrative. The story isn't just unfolding on screen, it's alive online, with debates, memes, and insights creating a living drama. The tension between friendship, trust, and marital expectations continues to ripple outward, ensuring that fans remain glued to every moment, waiting for the next twist. And if you think social media is done, wait until the cast's next move changes the conversation entirely. The fallout from Elizabeth's confrontation with Lauren didn't just stay at Yara's event, it followed them home, lingered in texts, and spilled over into every interaction. Elizabeth seemed caught between defending her marriage and processing her own emotions. Her frustration with Andre, combined with lingering comparisons to Lauren's life, kept bubbling under the surface. The audience could see the tension written across her face, hear it in the pauses, and sense it in every carefully chosen word. And just when you think she's letting it go, a subtle glance or a pointed comment reminds you she's not done yet. Lauren, on the other hand, appeared drained but resilient. She had to navigate not only Elizabeth's accusations, but also the ripple effects on her marriage with Alex. The small disagreements about appearance and respect had grown into full-blown emotional arguments, leaving Lauren questioning boundaries and trust. Her silence during certain moments wasn't submission, it was strategy, a way to process the shock without adding fuel to the fire. And here's the kicker, when she finally spoke, it was measured, but the weight behind her words made everyone lean in closer. Andre, meanwhile, operated in his own world of ego and deflection. His tendency to minimize conflict or blame others created a vacuum that Elizabeth and Lauren couldn't help but fill. Every decision he made, from casual remarks to major ultimatums, reinforced tension instead of easing it. Watching him, fans could see the unintentional consequences of unchecked behavior as friendships frayed and alliances shifted. And just as the viewers began to think he might step back, a small comment from him reignited the storm, leaving everyone holding their breath. Alex's role was subtler but no less impactful. His directness and occasional insensitivity collided with Lauren's postpartum vulnerability, turning small missteps into emotional flashpoints. The couple's struggles highlighted how perception, timing, and context can transform everyday interactions into trust tests. Audiences could empathize with both sides, Alex for wanting honesty, Lauren for needing sensitivity, but the tension was undeniable. And when Elizabeth's allegations hit social feeds, it wasn't just private turmoil, it became a public stage for judgment, leaving Alex and Lauren navigating external opinions on top of their own emotions. Amid all this, fans could see patterns forming. Jealousy, comparison, and loyalty all intersected, creating a pressure cooker of unresolved feelings. Elizabeth's projection of Andre's flaws onto Lauren, Lauren's careful defense of her marriage, Andre's ego-driven choices, and Alex's blunt honesty combined to create a web of behaviors that were fascinating to watch. And here's the twist, just when you think the dynamics are understood, subtle hints reveal deeper insecurities nobody has fully addressed yet. This act wasn't just about drama, it was about reflection. Each cast member faced consequences, both internal and external. Elizabeth had to confront how her protective instincts could come off as judgmental. Lauren had to balance assertiveness with empathy, knowing every word could escalate tensions. Andre's behavior forced him to reckon with how his decisions ripple through relationships. Alex had to consider how his intentions were perceived and how communication gaps could amplify conflict. And the deeper insight, human behavior is rarely simple. Emotions, history, and expectations collide in ways that are messy, unpredictable, and completely relatable. The emotional highs and lows alternated throughout this act, giving viewers moments to gasp, pause, and reflect. The tension wasn't just in arguments, it was in looks, pauses, and unspoken truths. Each interaction built upon the last, layering suspense, empathy, and anticipation. Fans could feel heartbreak, shock, and a strange sense of satisfaction in seeing the truth unfold. And just when you think this chapter might close, subtle clues hint that personal insecurities and unresolved conflicts are far from gone, leaving the audience wondering what comes next. As the episode wrapped, it became clear that nothing was simple. Friendships had been tested, marriages scrutinized, and every character had to confront their own behavior in the face of emotional fallout. The story wasn't about who was right or wrong, it was about how choices, words, and perceptions can ignite tension, expose vulnerabilities, and force reflection. But the story is far from over. This next revelation changes everything. Even after the dust seemed to settle, the tension between Elizabeth and Lauren hung in the air like an unsaid truth. You could almost feel the weight in the room when they parted ways, half apology, half defensiveness, and a lot of unspoken questions. The audience could sense it too. Everyone watching knew this wasn't over. Friendships like theirs don't just reset with a single conversation, no matter how polite. And wait until you see how one small interaction in the next episode makes the entire dynamic shift. Andre's presence continued to loom large. Every decision he made seemed to ripple through Elizabeth's world, subtly influencing her emotions and judgments. Fans will be watching closely to see whether he doubles down on his ego or starts to consider the fallout of his choices. Could he finally acknowledge how his behavior impacts not only his marriage but also his circle of friends? Or will his next move ignite yet another chain reaction of hurt and confusion? Just when you think he's holding back, the next episode might reveal something that shakes everything we've seen so far. Lauren's perspective will also be front and center. After weathering public accusations and private doubts, she faces the challenge of reclaiming her sense of agency and trust in both her marriage and her friendships. Her interactions with Elizabeth in the coming episode will test boundaries, patience, and forgiveness in ways that are raw and relatable. Fans are going to be torn, rooting for reconciliation one moment and gasping at unexpected tension the next. And here's the twist: what seems like a calm, measured reaction could actually spark one of the biggest emotional turns we've seen this season. Alex's role remains just as crucial. As viewers have seen, his intentions often collide with perception. His attempts at honesty and directness sometimes backfire, turning minor disagreements into major emotional landmines. The next episode will likely show him navigating scrutiny from both Lauren and Elizabeth, and potentially from fans online as well. It's the perfect storm of expectation, vulnerability, and human error. And trust me, the way he responds to Elizabeth's claims could completely alter the way viewers judge him and the friendships around him. Social media and fan reactions are going to continue amplifying every moment. The internet loves a layered conflict, and this drama has it all: jealousy, projection, loyalty, and the occasional shock revelation. Discussions, debates, and heated comments will provide fuel for every viewer to form strong opinions. Will Elizabeth apologize? Will Lauren forgive? Will Andre finally see the consequences of his actions? And just when you think the drama is slowing down, one unexpected online reaction might reignite everything we thought had calmed. The stakes are high because every unresolved issue has been carefully layered for maximum tension. Friendships hang by a thread, marriages are being questioned, and the next episode promises confrontations and confessions that no one will see coming. Viewers should brace for intense emotional beats, unexpected reversals, and subtle gestures that reveal far more than words ever could. And the emotional hook is clear: next time, one confession flips the entire friendship upside down. You don't want to miss it.